So, Dell Loy, thanks for sitting with me, and tell me a little bit about your collecting background.
Okay, like everybody, I'm 64 years old. When I was in grade school, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, I'd go to the bank and get a 50 roll of pennies in a red case and sort through it and put it in my Whitman album. And I did, the pennies, and then I think I could do it better. So I would keep looking and I'd compare them, and I'd find I found a better one. And I was constantly upgrading my little Whitman album of nickels. I remember it was nickels and pennies pretty much through third, fourth, fifth grade.
Was there something that got you started initially at all? Do you remember any kind of seminal?
I think I was given, for Christmas, in second grade, a set of Whitman blue albums.
Okay, and that stuck.
And somebody gave me with that. I still remember like 2 rolls of pennies, and I opened them up promptly, and I found I could fit like 40 of those 100 pennies into the album.
Right.
Now I need to find where the other pennies are. And so it's pretty basic for a young kid. You just want to fill the holes in your album, and you go at it. And then you later think I could make that could look prettier. I found a prettier one.
The upgrade.
And you're not even thinking of anything other than you want the best looking album to do it. And then I collected 43 Steelies. I collected like 200 of them. I go through roll after roll looking for 43s. And this is in the early 60s, so they're still around pretty. They're not lost out there. They're in circulation. So I was looking for Steelies a lot, and then silver nickels. I found I like collecting the 43 silver nickels or the World War silver nickels. But then I had a hiatus. I remember I had 4 silver dollars, and I couldn't afford to hold 4 silver dollars. It tied up too much of my net worth. And I still, to this day, remember the pain of breaking one of those into quarters. Just was
and your 4 silver dollars in the 60s were worth $2 a piece, I think, was the going rate for a Morgan dollar.
Yeah, but $8 of net worth, was quite a bit of net worth.
You had to get that working for you. Sure.
So it was there. Then probably when I was in my late 30s, I was coming to Salt Lake from Logan to the north where I lived, and I just thought that would be fun to get one of every coin, a typeset, and so I bought a Dansko album. And I decided I'd get from half cents to
And when was this about?
This was about when I'm 38 or about 30 years ago.
Oh, okay. So you got back your second iteration.
Okay. And there was a dealer, Bob Campbell. He was a young kid at the time in a shop that was 8 feet wide that went straight back. So he goes in there. He had a counter in himself. And when I come to Salt Lake, maybe once a month or every other month, I'd stop in and I'd have my album with me, and we'd look which ones you go look for. A trade dollar or a bust Liberty quarter. And I still have that down in the vault that we were just in. I have that Dansko album I built in the late 30s. But you'll notice in part of it, when I was finishing it, I started seeing coins come in plastic holders. I was going, "Oh, that's dumb." Now I got these plastic holders. The Dansko album is still, I've kept it intact, and there's a couple of holes in it, I noted.
Interesting.
But it was funny that I thought the whole plastic holder thing was getting in my way.
Well, you saw the Capital Plastics holder that my uncle, in the office that my uncle had built. It's the same sentimental attachment that I have. Same thing.
You had those plexiglass. I've got a whole walking Liberty set that in the plastic. So, but I don't ever want to take it out of that because that was built 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you take out 42 screws just to get into it.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
We call them the capital holders, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's cool. And a lot of us in an older generation of collector have the folders in mind and the collecting out of change in mind. My father famously got into collecting because he took a train from Brooklyn. He went to a high school in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So every day we take a train from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and the ladies in the subway stops would start holding barbers for him because they knew he wanted barbers. Well, they'd get one in 100 dimes would come in as a barber.
Yeah.
They'd have Mercuries and Roosevelts, but they'd still have barbers, so they would pull him, and he would start building a set.
Yeah, for barbers.
But, he couldn't afford to pay 12 cents for a 10-cent coin, but he could have. If they held him for him, he could do it. That's what he did.
That's how it all started for most of us.
Yeah, and I wonder about that today because we don't have that same thing. All right, so what your third iteration, let's say.
Well,
if that's where we are today.
2 years ago, probably fall of 15, I was literally driving past Bob's Coin Shop, and he'd expanded. It's now not this little narrow thing I saw in Sugar House in Salt Lake here on 2200 South. I saw his shop, and I literally just spun in and went in the back. And as I was thinking going in, I said, I wonder what would be a really challenging set that I'd like. And I thought, I've always loved Saint-Gaudens gold. And I thought, I wonder what that would be like to collect. So I went in, met with him, and we looked over the gray sheet and looked at the pricing. And his theory of it was that if one coin is $2,000, the next one's $10. Always buy the $2,000 coin.
Right before the jump grade.
Yeah, the jump grade. So that was his strategy, that, eventually it'll push out and that one will grow the fastest in value. So I went in and I said, well, why don't we do Saint-Gaudens? And so we collected about 20 coins, 10 he had, and then he went to a show knowing I was looking and kind of bought the jump grade Saint-Gaudens for me. It wasn't very expensive. Maybe I paid $40,000 for a basic 40% set of Saint-Gaudens, felt like. But I now had it, and I started doing my own research. And I found a dealer in Los Angeles on eBay that had a lot of Saint-Gaudens. I think it was Barry Stroopler. Okay. And so I went in and bought that. We started talking, and he got very interested in that. But he had a different theory that you should be collecting at the top of what you can get and not the jump grades. So I started to buy more into his theory, and we started looking at things. I started comparing the very best coins to Saint-Gaudens. And I fixated in the PCGS registry that there were a whole bunch of guys, Fox and AWA and Simpson. And I said, how would it be to be playing in the top of this? And almost impossible. You got to get a 27D. You got to get all this. I thought, okay. So then I bought about half the set, and I went to the A&A auction in August of 16. Well, it had gone 3 hours longer than it should. I was only there for the Saint-Gaudens 20s, which were the very last thing coming out. So I'm sitting in LA at 11:30 on the front row with Barry and a list of coins I'm going to bid for, one even being a flowing-haired Stella. And so this is the first auction I've been to. We kind of identified what we thought we'd go for, price we'd pay. And what I found that auction, about everybody else had gone to bed. On the East Coast, it was 2 and 3 in the morning. And so there were 6 people in the room. We sat there and we bought $2.4 million worth of coins. And I got 26 of the coins that I wanted. And I'm now looking at the set. I only need about 7 more coins. And so it kind of got the bug that I could close on this thing. I could make this set complete.
Yeah.
So it kind of got the bug.
Right, so the opportunity. So it's interesting. The coins being available. Obviously, you got a great deal, which makes you feel good because I'm sure you did, and that interests you in a lot of ways. So I think that's fantastic. So without the coins being available, you don't really maybe take it even to the next level.
Yeah.
Maybe you had a bad experience that one night in the auction, and you might not have come back. Anything can happen.
It was amazing. The auction was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So
adrenaline.
I looked around, and we're getting things, and I mean, so it was kind of like. That was better than we thought we would. And I got a flowing hair Stella. That is stunning,
Sure.
And so, I mean, it was just things that I didn't expect. And so I know my expectations of what I could do rose very quickly.
Yeah.
And
you got the bug, as it were.
Yeah, it was the bug. Yeah.
Okay. So we know that you now collect across a huge range. Do you have a specific series? I mean, are Saint-Gaudens your favorite? I mean, do you have a favorite?
But my favorite has shifted to the Liberty Head 20s.
The Liberty Head 20s.
I have just been fascinated on the history, and I think I have almost now an encyclopedic knowledge of each one because I studied the 50.
An incredibly difficult set to achieve, by the way.
Well, I probably have on that set like 80 duplicates or 90 duplicates of the $20 gold. That a lot of them are second and third finest.
Maybe you should start just a second set.
second set. I may do that.
Earrings. What's that? Yeah. Okay, what advice at this point? So you're saying so it's been almost a year and a half since you've been in it.
Yeah.
And you've got a unique exposure to the hobby because you're a sophisticated business person, and now you're coming into a hobby that you didn't know anybody. You can walk into a room and people won't recognize you, which is unusual for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And what is your experience? What do you I mean, there's several questions I want to ask on this
Sure.
line, but what is it that you see when you walk into that? What do you see in our industry from a professional standpoint? How do you get treated? Is it well or is it not well?
Well, mine is stunning. I feel like a rock star. You know, I went to the Denver A&A show, and John Rush, you know, from David Lawrence sponsored me there. I told him, so I came there, and I was for the first time meeting people because I did all of my collecting kind of over the phone. You know, it was the internet open collecting to me because I don't have time to go to a lot of shows or visit dealer showrooms. Nor
I'm sure you were very popular at that show.
Well, it was observed from the outside, but I was just having fun one-on-one meeting people that I talked to a lot or we'd done business with, and so I just loved connecting with them one-on-one at that show, so it was a lot of fun.
Right, but you started with, like, for example, with Bob Campbell, as you said, and then Barry Stupler second, and then I know you've talked to a lot of coin dealers. I mean, do you think that if there's, do you have from a perspective of the coin dealers, do the dealers approach this right? Obviously, in every business, there's people who do it better and worse, but do you think that we do a good job as an industry?
I think it's an amazingly fun group of people that are very sincere in helping. So, you know, I have had amazing experiences with dealers. I don't have a lot of negative situations. Very helpful group. I think people have been fair in pricing. I have very few issues that I've had that I don't think I was
Is it helpful that
pricing.
this industry has great price guides, for
Yes.
example,
Well, it's
whether it's
imperative to
CDN
me.
or PCGSs or anybody? So the fact that it's helpful in other collectibles, it doesn't exist.
No, coins you can know, meaning there's no set price to anything. It's a buyer-seller at the end, but there's a lot of history in it. And the internet and PCGS and the auction houses.
Right.
And
Heritage's
Registry.
auction records and stats.
I mean, there's
It's
so many ways you can get information. Literally, a lot of the coins I'll look at, and I can go back and look at their history in the auction.
Yeah.
I can say they've asked 30,000. This one sold at 27, and I can look at the history of it. I can look at one next to it. I can put them up on my screen together. I can put them on 4K resolution.
And do you ever buy things like art or things like that where it's a more opaque industry and then people feel trapped because they might spend money and then find out later that they double what it was worth?
I don't. I'm just found that I'm kind of ADD fixated once I pick something. And that's really important to understand because people say, how do you get so fixated? And, you know, when I kind of hit a block in one set, I'd go to another set.
Right.
So if something's blocked, I can't go any further, then I'll open up, you know,
can't buy what's not on the market.
Yeah, V nickels, and I'll work on V nickels. So the reason it got so prolific is, one, I met people in copper that kind of educated me, and I got interested in copper. I went to an auction, the Goldbergs, and bought 84 pieces, and all of a sudden I had a significant collection of copper.
Right.
And so then copper caught my attention. I was strictly gold for a long while, and then all of a sudden I was in copper, and then I liked silver, and then
you missed the Missouri cabinet collection of half cents by about 6 months. Well, it's better for you that you did, I think, because historically the coins, the prices paid were extremely market top at that time. And I represented a client actually who spent $2 million at that sale. There were some bargains and then other things, but the biggest buyer in that sale was Pogue. And it was also the last auction I think that they participated in. Actually. But those coins, many of those coins will come back on the market.
I picked up 20 Missouri cabinet coins. So when I go through my half cents in particular, we have like 15 Missouri cabinet, and the large cent 5 Missouri cabinet. So in the half cent, we actually have recreated a lot of the Missouri cabinet.
And that was a beautiful set of coins.
Yeah.
So just like many of the coins that Pogue held and have come on the market, I think it's an opportunity for you. And I just have to wonder if another Dell Loy Hansen collector comes on if there's even a potential for the coins to be bought. I don't even know. We're not that deep, are we? In certain areas, we are. I mean, in Morgan Dollars, we can do this 10 times. And in Saints, we could do it 5 or 10 times. But we can't do it for 27D Saints, and we can't do it, for half cents.
No, half cents are. When I look at collections that I know I'm sitting in a signature interesting position, it's $5 gold, early gold.
Early $5 gold.
There's 73 of those, and I build an amazing early $5 gold collection, which I've come to
impossible to
appreciate
replicate. Yes.
more as time's gone on. As I started it, I didn't, but I've studied the coins one by one as I've acquired them, and
They don't exist, and they only exist because Pogue spent 30 years amassing a
then he
set
put
of
them
them,
out there.
and then put them out there. And now,
Yeah.
the next person who wants to do it, if they have to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know where that's going to go, but they would have to talk to you because the
Yeah.
coins simply are not in the market.
Yeah, there's so certain sets you're able to build almost a unique entry into it, and I think the $5 gold is one that just intrigues me all the time. What's that one taken to build, but two, that it's, like you say, unreplicatable.
Right. Look, let me ask you. I say clearly there's other very successful businessmen who collect coins at every level, and some of these people are putting together incredible collections, but none to the extent that I know of at the level you are. My question is, do you think that your presence in the market inspires other people, who might do the same, because they see you do it and say, mostly people want to do what other people are doing. We know that, right? People go to football games because, other people go to football games, right?
Yeah.
It's just, nobody wants to be the only guy, at the ETSU game or something like that. So,
well, I think that two things. One, with the dealers, John Albanese paid me a compliment once. He said, "You've been very good for our industry because you deal with everyone." And I do. I am open to make a relationship with everyone.
right.
And so while I have some representation at times, traditionally I self-represent, and I get to know, I probably know 40 or 50 dealers. And we've had a lot of time, and everybody brings something to the table. Some are specialists in copper, others are bust half dollars. And so I get the benefit of all those deep knowledge bases talking to the various experts in these fields. And so by just being open to knowledge, that I'm always willing to learn and admit that I'm a novice, it's an amazing amount of knowledge that people have allowed me to accrue to.
And you never know. That one dealer you talk to who's maybe 70 years old, it's not unusual to have older people who are still dealers who you do a deal with. He might have been on the edge of retirement, and then when you came along and did a deal with him, he said, "You know what? Maybe there's another. Maybe this isn't over. Maybe there's."
I'll tell you an interesting one that just happened this week. He's been trying to meet me, but it's Robert Hughes, 70 years old. Way out in left field as a conversations, but he had the one coin I hadn't found in proof was the highest graded 1914S proof $5 gold piece. I could not find a $5 matte proof gold piece.
Okay.
So my typesets, I'd even called 2 or 3 dealers, said, "Have you guys seen a $5 matte gold piece anywhere floating around?"
Right.
And they said, "Not recently, but I'll tell you."
And Bobby, as
Bob
we
called
call
me.
him.
Yeah, called out of the blue, and he had this one, and it was fairly priced at the end. And I now have in my typeset, if you go in, a $5 matte proof gold piece, as finest known in the 1914S.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I got a top pop type coin that had eluded me, and it came out of the
We
woodwork.
could do a whole other interview just on Bobby alone.
Bobby himself.
But I would like to do that at some point.
Yeah.
He and I have a huge.
I've never met him, but
He and I have a huge history together.
he calls me 3 times a day now, like we're best
we
friends.
used to joke around that the rarest set of collectibles in the rare coin business is a Bobby Hughes set of business cards, because he's changed names
so many times.
and there's some rarities in that set.
Yeah.
But he goes all the way back to my youngest days. So he's an interesting character, and we love him. One thing I want to ask you, within people who are not coin collectors, and people who you rub shoulders with, peers, let's call them peers in your peer group, people who might be other sports team owners or things like that. Are they people who you ever talk to about coins? Do they say, do you turn them into interested collectors?
The Dallas, I bought my 1803 proof silver from the Hunt family.
Okay.
That owns
1803 silver dollar.
Yeah, silver dollar. They were holding that 1803 proof silver, and so we've talked coins. And
this famous family that ran up the silver coins in 1980 to $50 an
grandfather or
the
father
Hunt brothers.
or something. Yeah, the Hunt brothers. Yeah. Their kids are who I deal with in in soccer.
Okay.
You know, with the Dallas
Okay.
soccer team.
Oh, they own the soccer team.
They own the soccer team, so we're close on that.
Interesting.
And they had an 1803 that they collected, and so I mean, we have some connectivity. But the fun is to take people and teach them an appreciation of our history through coins. So when I take people in the ball, I'm usually talking about the history that happened, why the 1850 $20 gold piece came into existence. And
do these guys, do you think they'll say, hey, I would love to collect coins too? Has that happened yet? I mean,
independently, they all call me and say they have a coin that their grandpa gave them. When I come tell them,
welcome to our world.
Yeah. Did you see that one Jen showed you?
Well, no, but I mean, every time I go to a Starbucks, I've got someone offering me a coin.
I found this from their grandparents' drawer.
That's true.
Yeah,
so you already learning what it's like to get coin.
Yeah. People say like I have a unique.
Most collectors don't talk about their collection like you do, so it's an interesting.
Well, mine is a lot of people are very. I find I can negotiate for a fair price. I'm not afraid that people know what I need.
Yeah.
If I don't think it's a fair price, I won't pay it.
Yeah, well,
I don't need the whole.
Right.
So the difference is people are more secretive, and that's been the unique dichotomy that I bring. Different than most is secretive.
Right.
I'm not secretive at all.
Right.
I'm an open book.
Cards on the table.
Well, you hear what it is. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I think it's worth. You don't have to agree, but I don't have to buy it either.
Right.
And I think that fairness factor of
is unusual in the hobby, for sure.
Yeah, because most people are. You have to be secretive, and I find I'm not, and I think I've achieved fair pricing in most cases.
So would you argue third-party grading of coins? Does that
Very
enable you
important.
to do? Without that, you couldn't.
I could not collect what I have, and I think
this level.
CAC has created a value, but maybe too much value. Because I believe in CAC,
right?
But I think even if you talk to John, you think people are placing too much value on CAC,
right?
Just as a standalone fact.
Maybe an artificial scarcity to CAC coins that even he wouldn't want.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I think. I think he's proud that it shows its value, but at the same time, it was really more to validate than it was to just create a standalone category.
Right.
I don't think that was the goal.
So, Motley Fool kind of question. I don't know if you ever read those
I do.
things. But if the rare coin industry were a stock, would you buy, sell, or hold?
I would buy for one reason. It is a limited commodity in the upper reaches of the coins. Meaning, if you're buying 64 and older, they're not finding too many of those to add. Maybe some gold pieces here and there, but it really is unique. And when you have limited production of anything, at some point, value increases. Now,
it's like land. We're not making any more of it.
If we're not building apartments, land's cheap. When we start to build apartments, it gets crazy. Coins are going to be the same. It'll have an ebb and a flow. There'll be a window when it's flat. There'll be a window when I will do anything to be there. And those moments ebb and flow.
Right.
So in the life expectancy of my coin collection, there will be times that people will sell cheaper. There'll be times that they'll pay more, but it will be a gradually increasing more all the time, meaning the overall aggregate value of coins will grow.
Right.
And so it's a stock.
And I think historically speaking, you've been in it a year and a half in earnest this way, but I would say historically speaking, you're in a dip. You're in about a 15-year dip.
Yeah.
I think. I haven't done math on that, but I think you will be surprised to find later that there's times when coins would trade. And now, of course, anything you might buy, the sensitivity of scarce items you're buying.
Well,
once you buy one, now the other one, who knows?
Well, even in a sense, I probably made things scarcer because I probably have.
Well, you've
800 unique number one pots in a collection in this collection. So, by a sense, you've taken 800 number one coins out of the market, of which that might be 15% of the number one coins.
One more person like yourself comes along, and then we've massively impacted the market. Right. Even if they want second place.
Yeah.
It's clear you love the PCGS Registry program.
Yeah.
We can all see that looking online. Is this like
an amazing tool?
It's an amazing tool too.
I think PCGS hit the ball out of the park in terms of the functionality of it. That I can look at a set, click on it, look what's there, jump out of the set, register it, curate it, go into immediate to Coinfax, study the history, be in auctions. I can sit on an iPad for 3 hours and be totally fascinated just being in the
So
PCGS
this is a game
register.
changer for you. This is really
Well, I
what-
couldn't have done it, nor would I have done it without
okay,
PCGS.
that's a very good.
PCGS is the tool to let a guy like me play in this industry.
Okay.
But I have no time to go to shows.
Right, and nobody does. I mean,
Yeah.
really. I mean, that's become an issue. How do you? Last question. How do you feel about physical gold as opposed to collectible gold? I mean, you have a feeling about that? Are you a gold bug or
No, not a gold bug. I like MS66 Saint-Gaudens because I think that it's just at the edge of gold value and the edge of collectible.
high quality, still
just
at a
kind of-
reasonable
Still, it's got a gold value underwriting it,
right,
but you've got a scarcity
right.
still. And I've looked at the total populations of those in every date.
Sure.
66, and some of them I have like 18% of all of the scarcity. So at some point, it has scarcity,
Right.
but it's still close to bullion.
Right, but you're not the
Right.
kind of guy who's going to buy 10,000 ounces of gold.
No,
or
no.
You don't
Not
think
even
that. You don't
interested
think
in
there's
that.
Right.
Not even interested
Okay.
in that. So I don't buy any bullion other than I've done some modern MS-70 collectibles, just simply because it's starting to creep into my head that if I'm really going to do something to exceed Eliasberg, I probably have to add the last 50 years. Now, that's a different kind of collecting than 64 to 1792. It's volume collecting,
Right.
and it's pretty,
Right.
and it makes it complete. So I have to weigh doing the volume of 64 to 2017 as I can sit on the internet and buy 40 coins in a night,
Right.
that are all perfect.
And I don't think Eliasberg had those opportunities.
No, he didn't.
No, but he
So-
was able to buy like the
He
flat
bought Clap,
collection,
which was all the perfect ones
It
coming
was
out
like
of the mint.
basically here. It's like a great starter collection, right? I'm going to give you
I'll give you
80% of everything.
from the mint. That was
And-
20 years right out of the mint. And so I think that's kind of modern coins, is that Clap piece of it, is he went to the mint, he got it.
I have a friend who's a really like a low level, or he's a high level but low key watch guy in Baltimore. Has a
Yeah.
small shop in Subterranean, and he worked for Eliasberg in the
Oh,
60s.
really?
He worked
What
at
did
his
he
bank. So he was a great guy.
Yeah.
So he went to a lot of baseball games with him and all that. He was a great guy.
Yeah.
Really super guy.
Seems like it. The articles I've read, about him kind of intrigued me that I thought I didn't know it was possible, but I thought you got to set an impossible goal.
Yeah.
So from the day I started this, I looked at Eliasberg. I actually went in and looked at Eliasberg sets.
Right.
I clicked Eliasberg, I went in, I looked at his sets, and I started thinking, I wonder what it would take to compete with
Incredibly
this guy.
clever that PCGS loaded those sets.
Well, it made it competitive for
That's
me.
exactly right. I mean, I think they generated you as a competitor
Yeah.
because they put those there. I mean, I hadn't realized they had done that,
Yeah.
until recently, and it's fascinating that they did.
Well, I'm not competing, like I tell my wife, I'm not competing against anybody living.
Uh-huh.
I'm competing against dead guys.
Against ghosts. Well,
Ghosts,
you're
yeah.
doing a heck of a job, right?
Well,
and,
it's
and,
fun.
look, at every iteration, if I can offer anything, is just to
Yeah.
say that every iteration of collecting is different. Those
Yeah.
guys did not, in the 19th century, they didn't collect mint marks.
Yeah.
In the 20th century, they substituted proofs for business strikes.
Yeah.
They there's just everything is different. They didn't
Yeah.
collect by grade.
Grade.
It's either unk or not
Mint mark,
unk,
yeah.
and choice that it became choice. So
What we can build, I think the end of this is,
you're beginning.
and I said that is that we can do something better,
right.
meaning in a qualitative, quantitative, and conditional mint, state, and proof, the sets we'll put together will be more complete, more accurate, and literally on average is a higher grade. So the real belief is what Eliasberg put together on a qualitative basis. I could build something better because I have better tools
question.
to do it. So the question is just saying, because of our technology and time, I should be able to, not for the sake of not honoring Eliasberg or seeing what he did, but saying tools now give me a chance to do it better.
Right.
So that's the bonus of technology.
Yeah.
We have a chance to see a broader array in a more defined set of categories, and we can collect across that.
Well, and I think you're defining the future of
Yeah.
this competition, if such a thing, as opposed
Yeah.
to, because every generation will have a different way because of the way the
Yeah.
market changes. So
Well, I think that's why when you say, will the value increase? Of course it will. It's got a way to reach a bigger mass market.
sure. But it
And-
needs, and from our standpoint within the industry, we need more people, whether it's at your
Sure.
level, at the mid-level, at every level.
Yeah.
We need to evangelize this hobby as best we can. That's really why I'm involved with CDM,
Yeah.
and that's what matters to me. It's how do we
Simple
keep-
answer, I'm in Major League Soccer. When I go to a meeting with 24 owners, you know what the whole thing is how do we broaden our fan base?
Right.
Every industry wants to appeal at a greater level. How do we use the internet? How do we use social media? How do we use intriguing soccer? How do we get to the heart of people that have infinite choices? The coin industry is that, and I think literally showing the fun of what it is, the beauty of what it is, and then PCGS and NGC building competitive things or even non there that you can put in, and people now can enter competitions just like teenagers do war games.
Sure.
In a sense, when I see somebody's at a certain level, it becomes a game to me.
Right.
And then I say, how do I get to that level?
Right.
So when people say, how did you get so many number one sets? I say, well, I was number two once upon a time, and I decided I wanted to be number one. It was that simple.
You're like lightning in a bottle.
Oh, that's great.
I really
Did you get
appreciate
something
that.